Good morning.
So Ottawa says LNG Canada is the largest private sector investment in Canadian history. Quite a statement. The faculty can produce up to 14 million tons of gas per year. So how does that translate into economic benefits for Canada?
Well, as you know, it addresses two key priorities for the current government. One, trade diversification, which is the new mantra in response to Trump's tariffs. 97% of Canada's gas and oil exports, and that is the country's leading export, go to the United States. Mm-hmm. And that hampers us in two ways. First of all, our oil and gas trades at a significant discount in the U.S. market because we have nowhere else to sell it. And also it limits production growth because if we can't get to overseas markets, we can't really tap into where demand is. In the case of LNG, Asia is the primary market, but now Europe, with the loss of Russian gas, is also a significant market. So it fits into that. It also fits into the other objective of Canada becoming an energy superpower, the likes of which Saudi Arabia, Russia, the United States. Canada certainly has the natural resource endowments to become an energy superpower. Whether it has the political will to do so is not quite so clear.
It feels and sounds, at least, like we're moving, however, in that direction. Let's talk about Asia for a second. Asia is the world's largest importer of liquefied natural gas, LNG. More than 73% of global liquefied natural gas imports go to Asia, including China, Japan, and South Korea. So why is Asia so invested, first of all, in LNG? To help us understand that market.
Well, Asia is natural gas poor and wants to wean itself off coal as much as possible. We have an important comparative advantage in serving the Asian market compared to U.S. LNG exporters. It takes twice as long for a tanker to go from the Gulf Coast to Korea, Japan, China as it does from the BC coastline. So that's an important potential advantage. Now there are other projects potentially coming on stream. There's one in Squamish in the next couple of years, and the European market is quite significant now with the loss of Russian natural gas. That is a key market, and they've wanted Canadian LNG. Of course, we have no way of getting it to it. Now, a Norwegian company has proposed to build a liquefaction plant in Bay Como on the north shore of the St. Lawrence in Quebec, and we'll see if that has any impact on Quebec's previous opposition to pipelines going through its province. Don't forget, the federal government is not the only player when it comes to pipeline approval. Provinces and First Nation groups have had almost what's been a de facto veto power, and they haven't been shy about using it.
Although the passing of Bill C-5 does change things somewhat, or yet to be tested. Obviously, we are not the only country that sees an opportunity here. The Trump administration is also pushing for Japan and South Korea to invest in its Alaska LNG project. And there's some thought that the proposed $44 billion facility would create some steep competition for us in Canada. Set that up for us. Where does that leave our LNG sector if the Trump administration goes ahead with developing their own on the same coast?
I think given Trump's drill baby drill philosophy and the huge boost in U.S. oil production since he's come to power, that's quite likely. But, the market in Asia is big enough to accommodate both Alaska and BC. And I think what Alaska will really do is take away from the Gulf LNG capacity in the U.S., which probably is going to serve Europe. There's been a huge change in the European market. I mean, Europe was like over 50% dependent on Russian gas. And, in the last 3 or 4 years, something like 19 terminals have been constructed in Germany and other places. Just shows how other countries have moved much more swiftly than Canada in building energy infrastructure. As you noted, there's new legislation, federal legislation in place that will expedite the process, but it hasn't really been tested against the provinces or First Nation opposition.
Well, the need for natural gas is projected to increase, as you've pointed out, in the next few decades. Just to lay that out for everyone, according to Wood Mackenzie, global demand for natural gas is going to jump by 70 to 80% by 2050. It's a huge opportunity. What role do you see Canada playing to meet that?
Well, Canada already is like the fourth or fifth largest natural gas producer. It could be much more than that if it had the means to deliver gas to overseas markets, which LNG now provides the opportunity. Now, it's going to take more than just the Kitimat plant, which incidentally could be doubled in the next couple of years. But even so, it'll take more than that for Canada to fulfill that promise. But Canada does have the natural resource endowment in terms of natural gas supplies, and it also has coastlines. It has a Pacific coastline, an Atlantic coastline, perhaps even, Churchill Hudson Bay route to export LNG. So Canada does have the potential to become an energy superpower, given its geography and resource endowments. The question has been, does it have the political will? And I guess, we've seen some good initial steps by the Carney government, but as you point out, that new federal approval process has yet to be tested.
Jeff Rubin, economist and author of A Map of the New Normal. I feel like you're going to need another revision of that one soon. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Okay. Good.